Look closely at the ditch on your way home, past the gravel and the weeds. You aren't looking at trash, you're looking at a suppressed armory. Medicines that can seal a wound or silence chronic pain are growing right now, wild, free, and completely ignored. Our grandparents didn't need a pharmacy card. They had the dirt. They had the wisdom of centuries. But for 70 years, a specific narrative has been sold to you. A narrative that says healing only comes in a plastic bottle with a safety seal. Today, we reclaim the soil. This isn't just a list. It's a master plan for a living pharmacy. 20 plants, 5 sectors of survival, first aid, respiratory, pain, digestion, and immune defense. No patents, no permissions. Let's open the file. Calendula, the war flower. Medieval soldiers didn't carry it for the smell. They carried it because they knew without a lab that it closed gashes faster than time itself. They weren't superstitious. They were right. Modern clinical trials confirm that calendula triggers cell multiplication. It forces tissue to repair itself. Triterpenes and flavonoids, nature's internal engineers cutting recovery time for burns and scrapes by 30%. So why is your medicine cabinet full of synthetic tubes instead? Follow the money to 1952. New regulations made it impossible to claim a plant could heal without a multi-million-dollar trial. 4 years later, Neosporin hits the market. It's synthetic. It's patentable. It's profitable. You can't own a flower, so they buried the flower under a mountain of marketing. Then there's the medicine of the steppes, sea buckthorn, small, vibrant orange berries that fueled Genghis Khan's conquest. In the high altitudes of Tibet and the frozen reaches of Russia, this was the secret to surviving frostbite and skin that refused to mend. Science finally caught up to the Khan. These berries contain over 190 bioactive compounds. They are a rare source of omega-7, a cellular regenerator that pharmaceutical companies dream of replicating. If you have eczema that defies every prescription cream, you are looking at the solution growing in an abandoned lot. But a berry that's been wild for millions of years doesn't have a CEO, it doesn't have a lobbyist. It only has you. To turn your backyard into a garden emergency room, you need to master the protocol. Here is how you reclaim this power for the warflower harvest. The heads, when they are vibrant and sticky with resin, dry them completely. Submerge them in a high-quality carrier oil for 6 weeks. Strain it. You now possess a wound-healing oil that rivals anything on a shelf. For the berries of the steppes, cold press them. The oil is liquid gold for skin regeneration. This is the beginning of your medical independence. No middleman, no markup. Just the earth doing what it has done since the beginning of time. Your pharmacy is waiting. Go outside and find it. Look at your hands. Now imagine a medicine that leaves a bright orange stain, a badge of honor from the steppes. Big Pharma sold us synthetic corticosteroid creams. They were stronger, sure. More expensive, definitely. And packed with side effects they'd rather you didn't read about. They labeled sea buckthorn as folklore. But the skin doesn't care about labels. It cares about healing. If you've struggled with chronic issues, you know the truth. Sometimes the old ways work when the lab-grown ones fail. Sea buckthorn oil is a living bandage. It's messy, it's vibrant, and it works without asking for a patent's permission. Then there is the knit bone. Knit bone. In medieval Europe, healers didn't call it comfrey. They called it exactly what it did. Broke a bone, tore a muscle. They wrapped the site in a heavy poultice of Symphytum officinale. Modern science eventually caught up to the campfire wisdom. Comfrey contains allantoin. This isn't magic. It's a cell proliferation powerhouse. It signals your body to build new tissue fast. German trials proved it comfrey gel outperformed prescription anti-inflammatories for sprains and swelling. So, why isn't it in every first aid kit? In 2001, a shadow was cast. The FDA restricted internal use because of pyrrolizidine alkaloids compounds that can damage the liver if ingested. This was true, but the reaction was calculated. They didn't just warn against the tea, they painted the whole plant as a biohazard. They wanted you to forget the difference between drinking a toxic dose and applying a miracle salve to a twisted ankle. They filled that void with expensive synthetics. Remember the rule, knit bone is for the skin, never the stomach. Use it externally, and you have one of the fastest healers in the botanical world. Now look to the roadside. Look for the tall velvet leaves of mullein. For centuries, it was the breath of life for the bronchitic and the asthmatic. Native Americans smoked it. Europeans brewed it. They both knew it opened the lungs. Pharmacology confirms the secret mucilage and saponins. These compounds coat your irritated airways while forcing the lungs to expel what shouldn't be there. It is a natural expectorant that refuses to trap infection in your chest. Simple economics killed its popularity. You can't brand a plant that grows for free in a ditch. Patent medicine needs a logo. Mullein only needs a bit of sunlight. Here is your protocol for the living pharmacy. For the skin, apply sea buckthorn oil directly to the flare-up. Expect the orange stain, it's part of the process. For the bones and bruises, infuse dried comfrey into an ointment, or use as a topical poultice. Never under any circumstances ingest it. For the lungs, steep dried mullein leaves in hot water. Use a fine cheesecloth. Those tiny leaf hairs will irritate your throat if you don't strain them well. Add honey. Breathe again. This is your first aid kit. Wound skin tissue and breath. Ancient Greece knew elecampane root was the master of lung disease. Rome agreed. The knowledge hasn't changed, only our willingness to listen to the soil instead of the television. Stop asking for permission to heal. The garden is already open. Your lungs are a battlefield. Every breath you take is a struggle against a world of pollutants and pathogens. But the weapons you need aren't behind a pharmacy counter. They aren't locked in a laboratory. They're growing in this dirt under your feet, waiting for you to remember them. 2,000 years ago, the physician Dioscorides found a secret in the elecampane root. He called it a cleanser for the weak-lunged. Medieval monks grew it in their cloisters, naming it lungwort. Inside this root is a molecular master plan, inulin and allantollactone. These aren't just fancy words. They are botanical antimicrobials that hunt down bacteria and fungi in your respiratory tract. Science confirms what the ancestors knew. It breaks down the stubborn mucus that antibiotics leave behind. So why is it missing from your medicine cabinet? Because you can't patent a root. No patent means no profit, and Big Pharma prefers a customer to a cure. They've pushed the living pharmacy to the margins, labeling it alternative, so they can sell you the standard. Take time. To you, it's a kitchen spice. To the ancient Egyptians, it was a preservative for the dead. To the survivors of the Black Plague, it was a shield. Time is packed with thymol and carvacrol. Modern trials prove these compounds relax bronchial muscles and kill viruses on contact. If you're struggling with asthma, inflammation, or a chronic cough, Time doesn't just mask the symptoms. It changes the environment of your chest. It grows in your garden for free. And that is exactly why it's not in your prescription bottle. Then there's the weed in your lawn, plantain. Native Americans called it white man's footprint because it followed the settlers across the continent. It's a survivor. Its leaves contain a natural mucilage that acts like a liquid bandage for your throat. It's both an expectorant and a demulcent. It helps you cough up the bad stuff while coating the raw, irritated tissue. It's time to stop asking for permission to be healthy. Here is your protocol for the Renegade Apothecary. For deep congestion, take the chopped dry elecampane root. Boil it for 20 minutes. It will be bitter. It will be medicinal. That is the taste of efficiency. For immediate relief, steep fresh thyme in boiling water. Don't just drink it. Lean over the cup. Inhale the steam. Let the thymol open your airways before the first sip even hits your tongue. For the raw, hacking cough, infuse plantain leaves. Let the mucilage soothe the inflammation that chemicals can't touch. This is your garden emergency room. No prescriptions, no patents, no permission required. Reclaim the wild. Reclaim your breath. Because the truth isn't just out there, it's growing in the ditches and the abandoned lots. You just have to look down. Look at your lawn. You see a nuisance. They see a threat. Why isn't this common knowledge? Because it's a weed. You can't patent a backyard. You can't bottle the sun and sell it back to you for $30 a dose. So the architects of the modern pharmacy did the only logical thing. They marketed the synthetic, and they let the truth grow over. Take plantain. It follows civilization like a green shadow. It's been healing for free since the first roads were paved. While you're reaching for a plastic lozenge, this weed is waiting under your boot, packed with more respiratory support than a chemical factory could ever dream of. Then there's horehound, Marubium vulgare. Ancient Rome didn't use it because it was trendy. They used it because it worked for tuberculosis. The name itself belongs to Horus, the Egyptian god of healing. For 2 millennia, this was the gold standard. Science finally caught up. We now know it contains marubian. This compound doesn't just mask a cough. It thins the wall of mucus and forces your lungs to expel the debris. It's bitter, brutally bitter. In the old world, that bitterness was the signature of strength. In the 1950s, the industry synthesized guaifenesin. It was patentable. It was profitable. Suddenly, whorehound was old-fashioned. But old-fashioned is just another word for tested by time. Now look at the mountains. Look at arnica. For centuries, alpine farmers used these yellow flowers for deep tissue trauma. Falls sprains, muscle tears. They didn't need a study. They had results. Modern labs found helinolin, a sesquiterpene lactone that shuts down inflammation at the cellular level. In clinical trials, it matches ibuprofen for osteoarthritis pain. Yet in the States, it's practically a ghost. YE. A. 1990 FDA. Ruling labeled it unsafe because it's toxic if you eat it. Medically, that's true, but the headline buried the reality applied to the skin. It is a masterwork of healing. The warning painted the whole plant as a villain, and a generation lost their best defense against pain. This is your master plan for a living pharmacy. The protocol is simple. For the throat, chew the fresh plantain leaf directly or brew the dried leaves into a dark tea. For the lungs, steep horehound, long and strong. Add honey not just for taste, but to carry the marubian deeper. For the body, infuse arnica into oils or gels. Apply it where it hurts, but never on an open wound. 5 plants, 1 mission, clearing mucus, killing pain, and reclaiming the wisdom that was stolen from your medicine cabinet. No patents, no permissions, just the wild working exactly as intended. Your garden is an emergency room. It's time you started using it. Imagine a world where your pain is a subscription service, a recurring invoice paid in gastric ulcers and synthetic side effects. You've been taught to fear the wild and trust the bottle, but the bottle has a master, and that master doesn't want you cured, they want you managed. Let's look at the red sands of the Kalahari. Before colonizers arrived with their ledgers and patents, the sand people held a secret devil's claw. They didn't need a pharmacy, they had the root. Inside this plant lies harpagoside. It's a biological precision tool that shuts down inflammatory pathways without turning your stomach into an acid bath. European clinical trials, the ones they don't cite in the evening news show, it matches prescription NSAIDs for chronic back pain. So why is it alternative? Simple. It grows in African soil. It cannot be owned. No patent means no profit. So they sold you COX-2 inhibitors instead. Drugs that came with heart risks and a heavy price tag. Then there's the willow. Ancient Sumeria knew it. Hippocrates prescribed it. For thousands of years, humans chewed willow bark to kill fevers. It contains salicin. In 1897, Bayer figured out how to synthesize it. They called it aspirin. They took a gift from the trees, wrapped it in plastic, and patented the process. The difference: the tree gives you the compound gradually buffered by nature. The pill hits like a sledgehammer. Fast, yes. But the tree was never trying to sell you a billion-dollar miracle. It was just being a tree. And for the physical trauma, the deep bruises that make movement a chore. Arnica, the mountain medicine, a garden emergency room in a single yellow flower. While they sell you synthetic creams at $10 a tube, arnica has been reducing swelling for a millennium. You are being led away from a living pharmacy toward a chemical fortress. It's time to scale the walls. Here is the protocol for the Renegade Apothecary. Listen closely. For chronic inflammation and the morning stiffness that feels like rust in your bones, use Devil's Claw in capsules or a concentrated tincture. It is potent. Respect the dosage. For headaches and the heat of a fever, willow bark tea. It's the original chemistry delivered with a slower, kinder release than the synthetic white pill. For the bruises and the joint trauma, arnica gel. But remember the law of the mountain, external only, never on broken skin. This is more than gardening. This is an act of rebellion. You're halfway through the master plan for your living pharmacy. 10 plants down, 10 to go. If you're starting to realize how much has been hidden in plain sight, you're ready for what's next. Subscribe because numbers 17 and 20. Those are the ones they really didn't want me to talk about. Nature doesn't issue invoices. It only offers freedom. Take it. They want you to believe that healing is a product of a laboratory, a patent, a white plastic bottle. They're wrong. Before chemistry became a billion-dollar empire, we had the riverbank. Take the willow tree. For centuries, it was the world's first aid kit. Then the industry distilled. Its soul added a chemical buffer and called it aspirin. They branded the original primitive so they could sell you the copy. But the willow never forgot its power. For those who need daily relief but can't stomach the side effects of synthetic pills, the original version is waiting. It's gentler, it's real. Look for the bark. Boil it fresh or dried for 20 minutes. It will taste bitter. It will feel astringent on your tongue. That's the medicine talking. No permission required. Then there's ginger. 5,000 years of human history don't lie. It crossed oceans with ancient traders because it wasn't just a spice, it was survival. Inside that gnarled root are gingerols. They target the exact same inflammatory pathways as ibuprofen, the same relief without the corporate markup. Why isn't your doctor shouting this from the rooftops? Simple. You can't patent a root you find in the produce aisle. There's no profit in a cure that costs pennies. But for the Renegade, the kitchen is the apothecary. If your joints ache or your body feels like a war zone of inflammation, here is your protocol. Fresh root. Hot water. Steep for 10 minutes. Drink it daily. When you feel that heat rise in your chest, know that the medicine is working. And what about the fire inside? The gut that won't settle. Ancient Egypt knew the answer. So did Rome. They cultivated peppermint long before antispasmodics were a line item on a medical bill. Menthol isn't just for breath. It's a muscle relaxant for your internal systems. It calms the spasms. It stops the bloating. It does for irritable bowel syndrome what expensive prescriptions claim to do, but for the price of a leaf. Pharmaceutical giants want you on a subscription plan for your health. They want you focused on the symptom, not the source. We choose a different path. For the digestive repair, steep the leaves strong after every meal. Or use enteric-coated capsules to send the relief exactly where the damage is. Nature doesn't charge for a consultation. It doesn't ask for your insurance card. From the riverbank to the spice rack, the tools for your independence are already here. Stop asking for permission to heal. Build your own pharmacy, one plant at a time. Your gut is a war zone, and for decades you've been sold a truce that only benefits the occupation. We're told that acid reflux, ulcers, and inflammation are just conditions we must manage with a lifetime subscription to a purple pill. But management isn't healing. It's a profitable camouflage. Let's go back. Before the patents. Before the corporate monoliths decided that a flower couldn't be a pharmacy because they couldn't own it. First meet Althea officinalis, the marshmallow. Not the sugary confection, but the ancient Greek healer. Its root contains a secret weapon, mucilage. Up to 35% of this plant is a complex carbohydrate that, when touched by water, transforms into a thick protective silk. Modern medicine gives you proton pump inhibitors. They dry up your stomach acid, leaving the wound exposed and your digestion crippled. Marshmallow root does what they won't. It creates a physical barrier, a biological bandage that coats the fire in your esophagus and the ulcers in your lining, allowing your body to repair itself in peace. No patent on a flower means no profit for them, but total sovereignty for you. Then there is the Great Harmonizer. Licorice root. Ancient Egypt buried it with their kings. Traditional Chinese medicine used it to balance the entire body. It contains glycyrrhizin, a compound so potent it doesn't just soothe, it hunts. It goes after H. pylori, the bacteria behind most stomach ulcers, with the precision of an antibiotic, but the wisdom of a plant. But here's the corporate catch-22. They know it works. They've seen the studies where licorice extract rivals expensive prescriptions, yet it remains alternative. Why do you? Because you can't monetize a root that grows in a ditch. If you struggle with blood pressure, the world of medicine offers you DGL, the same healing power stripped of the pressure-raising compounds. It's evidence-based 4,000-year-old science that they'd rather you forget. And for the invaders, they don't want to talk about the black walnut. Native American tribes, the Cherokee, the Iroquois, knew the green hull of this nut was a death sentence for parasites. It contains juglone. To a worm or a fungus, juglone is a toxin. To you, it's a master key to internal cleanliness. While the modern world ignores the reality of intestinal parasites, the black walnut hull has been quietly patrolling the gut for centuries, killing what conventional remedies won't even acknowledge. This is your master plan for a living pharmacy, without asking for permission. The protocol. For the marshmallow, do not boil it. Soak the dried root in cold water overnight. By morning, the liquid will be thick and slippery. Drink it before you eat. Let it coat the battlefield before the friction starts. For licorice. If your heart is strong and your blood pressure is steady, brew the whole root as a tea. If you carry tension in your veins, use DGL tablets. Chew them 20 minutes before a meal. Let the harmonizer do its work. For the black walnut, seek the green hull tincture. Use it as a seasonal purge, a rhythmic cleansing of the temple. They want you dependent on the pharmacy counter. We choose the garden emergency room. Reclaim the wisdom. Heal the gut. Break the cycle. Think about the last time you were sick. You went to the doctor, you got a prescription, you paid the tax to a system that thrives on your fragility. But what if the cure was never meant to be owned? Take the black walnut. Its hull contains tannins, natural astringents that tone your intestinal tissue. Pharmaceutical companies ignored it. Why? Because it's slow. They wanted something aggressive, something synthetic, something they could own. Black walnut takes its time, but it leaves your body whole. It doesn't scorched earth your microbiome. It's been effective for centuries, yet it was relegated to folk medicine the moment it couldn't be monetized. This is the master plan for a living pharmacy. Then there is the barberry. For 2,000 years, from the sands of ancient Egypt to the mountains of Tibet, healers knew. Modern science finally caught up. They found berberine. This isn't fringe science. This is published peer-reviewed reality. Berberine kills MRSA, the superbug that hospitals fear most. It regulates blood sugar as effectively as metformin. It drops cholesterol. Metformin is a $9 billion a year industry. Antibiotic demand is worth tens of billions more. And here is a plant that does both. For pennies. No patent on a flower means no profit for the boardrooms, so they bury the research in journals doctors are too busy to read. They modify the molecules just enough to slap a brand name on it. But nature doesn't ask for permission to work. Here is your protocol for the Renegade Apothecary. For parasites, use the green walnut hull tincture, not the ripe nut. The juglone inside is powerful. Follow the dosage to the letter. It works best when paired with wormwood and clove for the immune system. Seek out the barberry. Take berberine supplements derived from the root bark or craft a tincture from the fresh berries. The berries are tart, rich in vitamin C and ready to fight. Lastly, the elderberry. Sambucus nigra. It's not just a syrup for kids, it's a biological shield. We are reclaiming a lost lineage. A living pharmacy that grows in ditches and abandoned lots. No prescriptions, no patents. Just the wild doing what it has always done. Healing without asking for permission. Hippocrates called it his medicine chest. Today we call it a weed. The elder tree isn't just a plant. It's a living pharmacy that doesn't charge for admission. Flowers for the fever, berries for the blood, bark for the fire in your joints. For centuries, European folk healers didn't fear the winter. They had elderberry syrup. Science finally caught up with the ancestors. Elderberries are packed with anthocyanins. These aren't just pigments. They are the drill sergeants for your immune system. They command your cells to produce cytokines, the proteins that coordinate your internal defense. While synthetic pills try to mimic healing, elderberry simply inhibits viral replication. It stops the enemy from cloning. Clinical studies prove it. Elderberry extract slashes flu duration in half. So why isn't it in every cabinet? Follow the money. There's no profit in a cure you can grow in a ditch. No patent on a flower means no bonus for the boardroom. They'd rather sell you a chemical mask for your symptoms than a botanical shield for your cells. Then there's sassafras, the spring tonic of the native tribes. It was the New World silver, the second most valuable export after tobacco. For 300 years, it was the gold standard of blood purifiers, until 1960. The FDA slammed the door shut. They claimed safrole caused cancer in rats. But look closer at the data. To match those lab doses, a human would have to drink hundreds of cups of tea every single day for years. It wasn't a safety ban. It was a tactical strike on self-reliance. They banned the whole plant while leaving safrole in your nutmeg and black pepper. Why? Because sassafras was too effective to be left in the hands of the people. Here is the Renegade protocol for your living pharmacy. First, the elderberry defense. Gather fresh or dried berries. Never eat them raw. They hold a mild toxicity as a defense mechanism. Simmer them. Cook them down into a thick, dark syrup. Take a tablespoon daily when the air turns cold. Increase to 4 times a day at the first tickle in your throat. Second, the sassafras truth. You can still grow it. You can still find it in the wild. It is a spring tonic, not a lifelong beverage. A few cups over a few weeks. Respect the plant, and it respects your liver. You don't need a prescription for what the earth provides for free. Stop asking for permission to be healthy. The garden is the only emergency room that doesn't send a bill. Reclaim the chest. Reclaim your power. Look at the bottle in your medicine cabinet. Now look at the meadow behind your house. One is a product of profit. The other is a gift of survival. For 300 years, a specific tonic was labeled a pharmaceutical sin. Not because it didn't work, but because it worked too well without a patent. Meadowsweet. The Druids called it sacred. Medieval Europe used it to break fevers and crush pain. It was the backbone of Western healing for a millennium. Then 1897 happened. Chemists at Bayer found a way to isolate its power. They took the salicylic acid, modified it, and rebranded it under a Latin alias Spirea. You know it as aspirin. A global market now worth $2 billion a year, built on a plant they stole from the wild. But here is the catch. Nature is smarter than a boardroom. Meadowsweet contains tannins and mucilage, built-in buffers that protect your stomach lining. Aspirin. It causes gastric bleeding in millions. The synthetic version stripped away the safety net to maximize the chemical hit. They sold us the cure, but they took away the protection. They couldn't patent a flower, so they buried the truth instead. But the original aspirin is still there. It's growing in the ditches. It's waiting in the abandoned lots. No permission required. Here is how you reclaim the pharmacy. The protocol for the living apothecary. For meadowsweet, harvest the flowers and leaves. Dry them. Brew a tea. It tastes of almonds and honey. It's natural relief designed with a built-in emergency room for your gut. Now organize your garden into 5 tactical zones. This is your master plan for medical independence. Zone 1, first aid. Calendula for skin. Sea buckthorn for repair. Comfrey for bone. Mullein for the breath. Zone 2, the respiratory line. Elecampane to clear the deep lungs. Thyme for infection. Horehound to open the airways. Zone 3, pain management. Arnica for the bruise. Devil's claw for the joints. Willow bark, the old brother of meadowsweet, for the chronic ache. Ginger for the fire of inflammation. Zone 4, digestive support. Peppermint to calm. Marshmallow to coat. Licorice to heal. Black walnut to cleanse the intruders. Zone 5, immune defense. Barberry and elderberry, your frontline shield. Sassafras for the blood. And meadowsweet to keep the system cool. 20 plants, 1 complete pharmacy. They spent a century convincing you that you were helpless without their white pills. They counted the billions while we forgot the meadows. The patent is a lie. The medicine is a birthright. Go outside. Your pharmacy is waiting. Look at your backyard. What you see as weeds, they see as a threat. They didn't bury this knowledge because it failed. They buried it because it worked too well. You can't patent a dandelion. You can't put a barcode on a forest floor. And if there's no patent, there's no profit. For decades, we've been conditioned to believe that healing only lives behind a counter signed by a pen and paid for in plastic. We traded our ancestral intuition for a prescription pad. Think back. Your great-grandmothers didn't panic when the pharmacy closed. They walked outside. They knew the language of the soil. This isn't alternative medicine. This is the original medicine, the prototype, the wisdom that survived ice ages and empires only to be silenced by a marketing budget. We are reclaiming the Renegade Apothecary. Here is your protocol for medical independence. First stop, spraying the enemy. Those dandelions, they are your liver's best friend. That plantain in the driveway, it's a biological bandage. Second, start small. 1 pot, 1 windowsill, 1 seed that doesn't require a license to grow. Third, observe. Feel the texture of the leaves. Smell the bitter oils. This is a sensory rebellion. Some of these allies will heal you today. Others require the patience of a season. But all of them work without asking for permission. The system wants you dependent. Nature wants you resilient. You now hold the master plan for a living pharmacy, a garden emergency room that never sends a bill. If you're ready to stop asking for permission to be healthy, join the ranks. Subscribe. Let the algorithm know that ancient truth is trending again. Tell me in the comments, which plant are you liberating first? If you need the blueprints, the growing guides, and the deep dive sources are waiting in the description. The gates are open. The knowledge is yours. What you grow next is up to you.